Welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast, hosted by Dave Roberts. Humanity possesses a unique skill, the ability to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. This podcast embraces that ability, offering learning opportunities through conversations with extraordinary guests. Dave aims to leave a positive mark on individuals around the world. So before you dive into today's episode, please share this podcast with your network, including friends, family, and colleagues. And please consider leaving a rating or review. Your support makes all the difference.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, and today it is my pleasure to have as my guest, Deanna Scaldaferri. Deanna is a licensed massage and bodywork therapist, Usui Holy Fire 3 Reiki master, intuitive life coach, and public speaker, and also a mother to 3 growing boys. I had to add that in there, Deanna. Her passion is helping people grow on their life's journey and spiritual path to find healing, balance, health, love, and happiness. Massage therapy and Reiki energy healing are her main tools in helping others release stress and heaviness to feel better in their bodies physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. She has overcome heavy trauma and many obstacles in her personal life and feels inspired to help others do the same. Deanna is grateful to be of service to others in attaining a healthier and happier life. Deanna has been facilitating a narcissistic abuse recovery support group in Charlotte, North Carolina for the last 4+ years. She herself is a survivor of this emotional, verbal, and psychological abuse and knows firsthand how damaging it is to the mind, body, and spirit. Deanna creates a safe space where survivors can feel heard and truly seen and recognize that they are not alone. Deanna offers holistic healing tools to get to the root cause of people's blockages in their lives that keep them from moving forward. She helps them reconnect with themselves, build a sense of empowerment, and heal from the inside out. Deanna, welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast. It's a pleasure having you on the program today.
Thank you so much, Dave, for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, and you created the opportunity to be on the podcast.
That's
You reached
true.
out. You reached out to me on LinkedIn.
That's true.
Told me what you did and wondered if there would be alignment for you to be a guest on the podcast.
Yes.
And massage therapy and Reiki energy healing are 2 things I firmly believe in. I've been a recipient of massage therapy, and I've also been a recipient of Reiki energy, so I know the benefits of it.
Yes.
And during our pre-chat, I realized that there was a lot of categories to your life that have contributed to this path, and that you have a lot of wisdom and a lot of tools to offer that are going to be helpful to the audience. So voila, we find ourselves here today doing a podcast episode.
Yes, very divine in how we found each other and how we're here today. And I love that.
Yeah, I threw coincidence out of my vocabulary a long time ago, Deanna.
It's synchronicity, not coincidence. Exactly.
Yeah, synchronicity and serendipity are my 2 go-to terms, but coincidence
Absolutely.
no longer is part of the English vocabulary for me.
Absolutely. I agree.
Well, you mentioned being a survivor of narcissistic abuse. So I'd like you to talk about that experience, how that has shaped your life path and your passions. And also, after you're done with that, any other experiences that you've had that have shaped who you are today.
Yeah, that could be an hour in itself, Dave. But yes, I guess I'll start at the beginning as far as what's shaped my life and where I am today is definitely my childhood and my background. I'm Italian American. We are fellow New Yorkers, and my family and the values that were instilled in me really have shaped much of my life, and I hope that I'm doing the same for my boys as well. I've also had obviously a faithful upbringing. I was born into a Roman Catholic family. My mother was very, very faithful. So faith has played a big part in my journey. I've also lived overseas several times. I've had the luxury and the opportunity to do that while I was married, and those were amazing experiences that definitely shaped my path. And actually, more specifically, really into the massage because I was in Germany for about 5 years. Europe and specifically Germany and Switzerland really have it right as far as wellness. And they embrace, people avoiding burnout and making sure they have a work-life balance. And they take wellness vacations and weekends away. And I immediately embraced that because it just felt right for my soul. And I enjoyed it while I was there, but that's actually what spurred me into becoming a massage therapist myself. I've always enjoyed massage, always, especially when my kids were young. It was kind of my saving grace, really. And so that was a big piece of that. And then massage actually evolved and brought me into energy work, into Reiki, which then brought me into coaching. And then some things that happened in my personal life brought me into the narcissistic abuse support group, which I'll go further into. So it's been, if I look back right now, and I'd like to think that I'm, midway through my life, I still have more years in me to help a lot of people on this earth, but a lot of those things have shaped where I am today. Those are the positives. On the more negatives, which I've certainly tried to turn into positive, is that I have had some heavy trauma and a lot of grief in my life, and throughout the years, really starting into my 20s, I'm a 9/11 survivor, which I think that was probably the first real trauma in my life. After that, years later, I lost my parents very traumatically, and that was life changing in so many ways, and how that in managing the grief myself, how that led me to where I am and what I'm doing today. And then leaving a very dangerous, toxic, narcissistic relationship of 20 years, and the recovery from that has shaped really what much of what I do as well. So I guess in a nutshell, that would be all of what has brought me here. Speaking specifically on the narcissistic abuse, I mean, it has been a journey. There's no other way to put it. There were many narcissistic relationships in my life that now in hindsight I can look back on and I can say, "Oh wow, yeah, that wasn't a healthy relationship and that wasn't a healthy." And they can come in all different forums. In professional settings, I had several bosses that were, I didn't know it at the time, friendships, romantic relationships. It can also be family. And typically with narcissism, it does follow a generational line. So I do speak openly that I believe my dad had a lot of those narcissistic traits. He had a lot of good traits too. So I don't believe he was a full blown, like diagnosed narcissist, but he did have a lot of those traits. And so they were familiar to me. And my mom was the classic codependent people pleaser, which I was brought up that way, watching her my whole life. So I just assumed that that was normal. So going into relationships myself, then I took that role as well. So now I say, Dave, that I'm a recovering codependent, a recovering people pleaser, a recovering perfectionist, because all of those traits are actually magnetic to a narcissist, because a narcissist is looking for someone that they can easily control. And so throughout my journey, it took me a long time to realize I was in a very, very unhealthy and toxic and at the end, very dangerous relationship and situation. And how I got out of that, I can only attribute to my faith. And that's where my faith comes in again, because my faith has carried me throughout my life. But in those moments of really, really seeking help and praying for help, I was able to get out safely, which was my main intention. And from that point, I do believe, Dave, in everyone's lives, whatever we've gone through, we grow through, and
Yep.
we have a choice. We can either just say, okay, we got through that. Thank you, God, and leave it at that. And honestly, I did. I thought that at that point, it was just about me and my family and my children. But God kept calling me and kept calling me and saying, like, there's more for you to do. I was meant to use the pain that I went through, the suffering that I went through, to turn it into purpose and turn it into a passion to help other people in these situations, in these kinds of relationships, trying to help them understand what's going on and getting out safely. But then there's a whole recovery after that, which speaks to a lot of the things I do with massage and energy work and in healing. Unfortunately, in these kinds of relationships, the damage is not done overnight. It happens very slowly, very subtly. So is the recovery. It's a process.
Well, with narcissists, I mean, they can suck you in real easily. They're very ingratiating, they're very attentive, and they really
Manipulative.
manipulative, and they use that to create a false sense of security for the individual that they're trying to attract. And it
Absolutely.
And as you mentioned, with the generational trauma you experienced with your dad having narcissistic traits and you learning perfectionism and people pleasing, those are qualities that a narcissist will be attracted to because you're easily controlled. They could tell you that you should have done it this way, and then you're going to try to do it the way that they wanted to do it.
Yes.
And then when you don't do it that way, they want you to go back and do it the other way. So you're like a puppet on a string.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely. And then you add on, to be honest, Dave, in my situation, I feel I had those components, but I also have the empath component that I didn't
yep,
know at the time.
yep,
But an empath and a narcissist is another magnetic connection because an empath wants to help people, wants to
yep,
fix people's situations. So
yep,
going into a lot of these relationships, I was aware that there was, dysfunction and unhealthy patterns. But in my mind, I was like, oh, but my love and my care will fix all of that. So it was almost a double whammy in my situation, but I was unaware of all of that as it was happening.
when you're in it, awareness isn't a part of the deal. It's about surviving it and getting out of it.
Yes,
You
exactly.
mentioned your faith was a big part of your recovery from narcissistic abuse.
Yes.
I'm guessing the massage therapy, the energy work were also parts of that. Was there anything else in addition to massage and Reiki that was part of your recovery program
Oh,
for breaking loose from a narcissistic relationship and breaking that
yes.
cycle?
Yes, many things, many things. And actually, Dave, I love that you highlight that. It's absolutely breaking a cycle, breaking a generational cycle. And I knew at the time that it was so much bigger than me. It was so much bigger than me just leaving a relationship that I was not only not happy, but it was very unhealthy for me. But so yes, I did lots of things. I mean, I look back now and it's been almost 7 years. And again, the recovery, it's a work in progress all the time. I feel like we're on a healing journey for until we leave this earth. I truly believe that. But I'm so much more healed than where I was if you met me, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Yes, massage and Reiki for sure. Traditional psychotherapy was a big part of my recovery as well, and really piecing together and really having the words and the labels for what I was dealing with in my life. That was huge. And I describe it as like putting the pieces of a puzzle together. So I wasn't aware. And I agree, when you're not aware of something, anything in your life, you can't do anything to change it because you're
Yeah.
not even aware of it. So the therapy helped me understand narcissism and what I was dealing with and helped me put those pieces together so that I could see a clearer picture and make informed decisions and, decide how I wanted to proceed. I've done a lots of also like very woo-woo things. I've worked with many spiritual practitioners and energy healers. I've done cranial sacral receiving,
Yeah.
cranial sacral energy work. I've worked with a woman who is my dear, dear friend and colleague at this point, as far as I called her my life energy coach, where she helps with me with a lot of somatic work where when your body has been exposed to trauma, and especially in a narcissistic relationship, it's prolonged trauma. There's trauma where
Yeah.
there's one single event, like for example my parents passing, but then there's
Mhm.
trauma that's prolonged, and
Mhm.
that's much even more dangerous in my opinion because it's just consistent and it's
Yeah.
wreaking havoc on your body, on your nervous system. That's that living in that constant state of fight or flight. And with a narcissist, you're constantly that whole walking on eggshells,
Yeah.
saying that you never know, are they in a good mood today? Are they in a bad mood? Are they going to be angry? Are they going to be happy? And that again just wreaks havoc on your body. So I did a lot of somatic healing for my physical body. I did a lot of training for my mind, the neuroplasticity and
Yep.
rewiring the brain, which is also a long process and takes a lot of time and patience. But I had adopted a lot of those narcissistic traits from that relationship. And when I left, I realized these aren't mine. This isn't me. This isn't who I am. So I had to actually like separate out like, okay, this was his and this
Yeah.
is mine.
Yeah.
And so that took a lot of training. Again, rewiring. It's absolutely possible. You can research the science of it. It doesn't matter how old you are. It is possible with intention. And that's the thing, Dave, I talk about. I was very focused. I was very like almost like the horse with the blinders on.
Mhm.
After leaving, it was like I knew there was something inside of me. And I think that plays to my faith and the spiritual component, there was something inside of me that knew that I was going to be okay. My family was going to be okay. My children. I just had to keep doing the work. So
Mhm.
I did a lot of things that now I use those tools to try to help other people. And again, I'm not trained in all of the different modalities that I've received, but I direct people where they need to go.
Well, yeah, you look at the modalities you talked about. I know we kiddingly say woo-woo stuff, but
Right.
you take a look at cranial sacral therapy. I teach a Care of the Human Spirit course at Utica University. And there's an occupational therapist who's
Okay.
certified in cranial sacral therapy. Um, Energy healing. There's
Yes,
individuals that are certified in energy psychology that do sound healing. All
yes,
of those quote unquote woo techniques, the science backs up is helping improve our overall physical and mental well-being. So the
absolutely.
so I mean the science supports that. And
Absolutely.
and the complementary modalities can work better in conjunction with traditional evidence-based therapy, or sometimes works better than traditional evidence-based therapy. So, you know, there's
Definitely.
there's a place for everything. There's a place for science. There's a place for all complementary medicine,
Yes.
integrative medicine. And, I think if we can integrate the best of both worlds to improve our physical and mental health, why not?
I agree with you 100%, Dave. And I agree that the science and the spirituality can coexist. And they
Mhm.
do definitely, the Western Eastern medicine complements each other. And I also believe that the science, yes, is there and backs it up. It's just, I think these are ancient, a lot of these things, especially the energy work and acupuncture, aromatherapy, all of those things. I mean, those are ancient traditions that have been around for thousands and thousands of years.
I think if we could
Yes.
take the best of both worlds, the best of Western medicine and the best of complementary medicine, our physical and mental well-being would improve exponentially. And I think there are certain cases where I think even the non-evidentiary based therapies or the complementary therapies can work better than evidentiary therapies.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000% that Western and Eastern medicine can complement each other, and these holistic modalities have been around for, thousands and thousands of years. These are ancient healing practices. So many things, the energy healing, the aromatherapy, plant therapy, acupuncture, all of those things. So I just feel that in the modern world and in Western civilization, we've become so far away from those things and trying to bring it back in because the
Yeah.
science does back it up for sure. And the experiences, I see it every day in doing Reiki. It's one of my biggest passions because I know it works and I love it. I love sharing it. I see it every day being validated. So it's like, okay, you can have the science to back it up, but I'm here witnessing it every single day and it's beautiful. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Reiki is a beautiful therapy. It's beautiful when it's shared. I've been the recipient of it, and I'm also going to be taking a Reiki one level training online.
Oh,
My goal is to get
wonderful.
my Reiki 2 certification. So I'm very, very excited about that. And
Wonderful.
I hope
That's great.
I can do some good things with it.
And I didn't even know at the time when I took my Reiki 1 and 2, Dave, how and I say it now, how it changed my life forever, personally, professionally, and I had no idea at the time how profound it would be in my world. And now it's almost like I can't imagine my life without it.
Yeah, and I hope to experience that same feeling during the training and once I complete it. So,
Yes. Life-changing.
yeah. What was something that you had to unlearn about yourself and or your relationships as you started to heal from narcissistic abuse?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had to unlearn a lot of things. So that speaks to the neuroplasticity of the brain again and really rewiring. So I had been wired a certain way from my own childhood and then into the narcissistic relationships that I'd been in. And now, at 40 something years old, I'm trying to unlearn that and rewire. And that's why I said I know it's possible because I've lived it. So if I can do it, anybody else can too. But I had to unlearn. I mean, the biggest things I'd say was the limited self-beliefs that I
Yeah.
had because
Yeah.
they were embedded in me for most of my life, honestly. Not just the long narcissistic relationship that I was in, but in many other scenarios. I was always told that even as a kid, that I was too sensitive and I was a crybaby and I, took things too personally. And this is what I was always told. Now, again, growing up, I took that as a negative thing. Well, people keep saying this, so it must be bad. Try to hide it, try to dim it. And in my journey, when I finally figured out that, wow, I have a whole lot of empathy and I'm an empath and intuitive, that was life changing for me, Dave, because I
Mhm.
realized what I've been put down for most of my life is actually my superpower. And it's
Yeah.
actually what I use to help other people. So that in itself was life changing. So the things I had to unlearn was my own beliefs inside that I'm not too sensitive. I am who I am. I'm not a crybaby. I cry because I release things from my
Mhm.
body, which is very healthy, actually. I'm capable. The other things in that relationship, I was made to feel that I wasn't capable. I wasn't decisive. I couldn't do life on my own. And that's absolutely not true. But I believed that for many years. So there was a lot to unlearn. There was the managing of emotions. I have struggled with anxiety for most of my life. I didn't know it was anxiety, in most of my younger years, but being in a narcissistic relationship, that ramps up anyone's anxiety because,
Yeah.
like I said, you're in that fight or flight and you're constantly just on edge. And so that naturally increases anxiety. So I was just so anxious and just always, frazzled was the word I always used. So I had to unlearn that. I had to learn how to manage anxiety, manage my emotions, and be able to, approach things when things happen, life happens,
Mhm.
approach things in a calm manner. And that was the key, staying calm, getting
Yeah.
myself to be able to stay calm in my body, in my mind, in my spirit. Then when you're calm, you can approach any situation in your life. But that was huge. That took years.
And that narcissistic person you were involved with, him consistently putting you down and saying that basically it's creating the illusion that you cannot survive without him, and that's another way of
Yes.
assuming
Controlling. Yes.
control, and keeping you beholden to him. And as far as empaths go, I have several people in my circle who are empaths. I
Yes.
love the way they see the world.
Hmm.
Um, and, I always caution them. I said, make sure you're protecting your energy because they are so energy sensitive. They take on not only
Yes.
the energy of their own emotions, but literally, you want to talk about advanced empathy. They take on the empathy of everybody else's emotions that they're
Yes.
dealing with. And sometimes the
Yes.
world, depending on what's going on in world affairs, I
It's
believe
overwhelming.
has that effect. So it's basically in our bodies, Deanna, and I'm sure you know this, obviously you know this, we're made for us to handle all of that energy coming through at light speed.
Yes.
And I have a
Yes.
good friend of mine who is very intuitive, very tied to the other side. And when she has a lot of stuff coming at her multidimensionally, she gets overly fatigued and she just has to take a nap and then
Yes.
protect her energy or do some protective meditation
Yes.
energies or do some other forms of self energy healing to get regrounded
Absolutely.
again. But
Absolutely. You
the
nailed it.
yeah, hey, but the world's a better place with empaths in it because they have enriched my life and
Oh,
have given me a new understanding of the world that goes beyond the physical world.
I love that. I love the way that you even describe that. That's beautiful. And I always say it's almost like a blessing and a curse because I feel so blessed to have the skills, but also to have learned how to use those skills to help other people. But the curse part, yeah, and I try not to live in the negative, but it can be very overwhelming. And you're absolutely right. You're feeling the feelings and emotions of other people in your own body. And that is what makes an empath. So it's you have the highs and lows though. Even I speak of my children. So when one of my sons is on a high for something, then I'm feeling that high in
Right.
my body and it's wonderful and I love it. It's as though it's happening to me. But the same is true on the downside. If one of my children or people around me are struggling, then I feel it inside my body like I'm struggling. And when I started in massage, before I got into Reiki healing, I didn't realize that, I'm touching people. I am in their aura, their energy field. And I was almost like a sponge, just like taking in all of their stuff. And I was so drained and tired, and I couldn't understand why. I just attributed it to that I had three small children and I was busy, a working mom, that kind of thing. But when I realized the empath piece, again, it was life changing because now I have tools. Now I have tools that I can maintain my energy, protect my energy, preserve my energy going in and also coming out of sessions.
Now, I know we've talked about massage therapy and we've talked about Reiki. For those individuals that aren't familiar with massage and with Reiki, what are they? What are the similarities and differences? And how do Reiki and massage, what have you found to be the benefits to individuals' overall health and well being?
That's a great question. There's a lot of similar benefits, honestly. On the superficial level, so massage, for anyone that doesn't know, is the physical manipulation of the muscles. So we have a lot of times pain, chronic pain, muscle fatigue, tension that sits in our muscles. So massage, it really works out the muscles. That is the intention. However, when you're laying on a table and you're relaxing and you're in that space, there's so many other benefits of the massage scientifically and just relaxation wise. So improve circulation in the body. Massage, I'll speak to massage for a second and then link the two. Increases the blood flow. It helps with cardiovascular health. It helps with calming the nervous system, which is a big one. That is definitely tied to Reiki as well. It helps lower your blood pressure. So those are on a scientific side. On the other side, it's just mental relaxation. So it aids in anyone suffering from anxiety, stress, even depression, those kinds of things where they're stressed. Your body, what massage does, and Reiki does the same, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. And that is the exact opposite of our sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight or freeze or fawn. That's the goal really in either session, massage or Reiki, is to get a person to that space. And I can tell by looking at their breath and how they're breathing if they're in that space, but that's where healing happens. So massage, overall relaxation, and just it promotes just emotional, mental health, well-being. Someone coming for a massage, the problem that I see a lot is that many people will lay there and say, okay, I'm here to relax, right? And they might be physically still laying on the table, but they can't shut the brain off. And I feel it. Like I can tell. And so you can get there with massage alone in that, like, that beautiful subconscious space of just the total relaxation, but most people have a hard time.
Yeah.
That's where Reiki comes in. So my signature session is actually a combination of massage and Reiki together because I've found that the combination is so beautiful and powerful. Because in a Reiki session, now you're lying there, many people can't shut their brain down, but Reiki almost forces you to. And it's hard to explain why or how, but it's almost like you can be having all of these thoughts and thinking about your to do list and things you need to do when you get home, and your mind wanders. But Reiki is so deeply calming to the nervous system that at some point the mind gives in. The mind gives up. And most people, I mean, 99% of the people will just be completely either falling asleep or in that again, that beautiful subconscious space, that like right before you're about to fall asleep or right when you wake up in the morning, it's that space. And that's the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest. That's the goal. Reiki can help with so many other things. Reiki helps with a lot of the same things as massage, of the relaxation, mental health, emotional health, specifically aiding in anxiety. So many people in our world today have anxiety and really high anxiety. It helps
Yeah.
reduce that. Reiki then on a different level than the massage can help with releasing things that are in our body. So massage releases toxins in the body. So you're massaging the muscles release toxins, and then that gets flushed out in our system. Reiki can release energetic things in our body. So repressed emotions, trauma, things that are in our body. My favorite book is The Body Keeps the Score because it's so true that
Mhm.
that emotions and events and trauma stays in our tissues, stays in our muscles, stays in our body. So Reiki can help release some of that energetically out of your body. And that is life changing beyond belief. Reiki can do the opposite. It can also bring things in. Let's say you're at a fork in the road in your life and you're like, I don't know if I should leave my job and take this bigger job. And I don't know if I should, get into this new relationship. I don't know. We always have questions in our life
Yeah.
of our next steps. Reiki can help bring in clarity, awareness, and help you in your mind's eye figure out. It's almost like a connecting of the mind and body and the spirit to connect to your soul to figure out your next steps. It's so beautiful. I could go on and on. I could talk about Reiki for days, Dave.
I, you're very passionate about it. Let's put it that way. And,
Yes. Yes.
when you mentioned that kind of Reiki opens us up, I think it opens us up to intuition from what I understand. I mean, if
Yes.
we're sometimes in between that state of awake and in sleep, that's when we can, I believe, can be subject to intuitive message, maybe
Yes.
connecting with our transitioned or deceased or passed on loved ones. Um,
Absolutely.
and so I think that's also another benefit is that it kind of reduces the veil between this world and the
Oh,
afterlife.
I love the way you describe that. Yes, absolutely. That's why I say it's a connection of the mind and the body and the spirit because it's all together and you're in that still space. And I speak a lot about this about, listening to your intuition can only happen in stillness. In the world we live in the go, 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 you're not going to hear your intuition. You have to bring, and that's why meditation and yoga and breath work and all of those other modalities can help as well. But it is that connection to self and the answers are all inside of us. I speak about that too, and people can think that that is also very cliche, but it's the truth. We look outside for all these answers in our world and we ask people and professionals, and really those answers sit inside of us in our
Mhm.
body, and our intuition, I believe, is our spirit, and that's connected to our higher power. So if you just give yourself a chance to be still and connect, you'll get every answer that you need.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've always said is once you sit in the silence, quiet your mind, what you need to do is automatically going to come to you. And
Absolutely.
you won't ask questions, but you'll get answers.
And I also speak about honing your intuition, building your intuition is like building a muscle at the gym. I say it all the time because you don't go to the gym one day and automatically you're buff. It doesn't work that way, right? Well, it's the same thing with intuition. It takes practice and consistent trial and error. And I've lived it. I've done it many times where I didn't, and later I was like, oh man, that's exact like I should have because something happened.
Yeah, so yeah, basically you didn't trust your intuition and then just something just ended up
Not
materializing not to your favor.
And I'll connect that for a second, Dave, to the narcissistic relationships because that's a big one too. When you have such self-doubt, when you've been, again, put down and belittled and degraded and ingrained in you that, you don't have a lot of self-worth, your intuition is so quiet, like
Mm.
you really don't even have it. And that's how I felt. And so you don't trust yourself. You don't trust any of this. And that's why I used to say, oh, I'm so indecisive. I just can't make a decision for anything. That wasn't the case. That's what I was, made to believe. Trusting your intuition is a part of trusting yourself and your self-worth. So that is a big piece of recovering from those kinds of relationships is learning to trust yourself again.
Absolutely. And if our self-esteem is compromised, so's our inner voice.
Yes, exactly.
We
Exactly.
we question that as well too.
Yes.
So let's talk about Healing Hands by Deanna.
Yes.
I love that because it reminds me of Reiki because I call Reiki the healing hands technique.
Oh, I love
So
that. That's great.
so tell us about the services that you provide. What is your overall mission? Who's most likely to request your services, Deanna?
It was hard for me to even come up with my business name because I wanted to be able to encompass really a lot of the things that I do. So, my main modalities and things, services that I offer to help people are massage, and I offer many different types of massage, your typical deep tissue, Swedish, hot stone, aromatherapy. I also do prenatal CBD. I do some other like Himalayan salt stone and Thai poultice. So, a lot of different modalities of massage, then incorporated Reiki into my business so I can do Reiki energy healing sessions solo, or I can now, again, my signature is the combination of both, which so many people love. I love doing them, of the combination of massage and Reiki. And then through my personal journey with recovering from narcissistic abuse and starting the support group that I run, I realized that I was doing group coaching. So I evolved and added in intuitive coaching into my practice. And I help a lot of people there. A lot of times it funnel from the group because they're people that need a lot of help in moving forward and recovering, and they know
Mm.
that I get it because I was there personally. And anything in our life when there's relatability, people can trust you even more because they know, okay, you're not just talking from a book or something you learned, like you've actually lived this. So I do help a lot of people in that space and coaching and more. Coaching can be, in a lot of different ways. My coaching style is more intuitive, where I really try to help people, similar to what we were just talking about, helping them connect to their body, to their spirit, to basically figure out wherever they're stuck, where they can find answers to the next steps. I also do speaking events for raising awareness for narcissistic abuse. I speak also on general self care and holistic modalities and protecting our energy type of thing. So it's really evolved and expanded, and it's wonderful. So when you ask what kind of people that I can help, I mean, the answer simply would be anyone,
Mm.
but more specifically, I do help a lot of people with anxiety is top on the list.
Yeah.
Grief is top on the list. Trauma. I would say those are the top three things that I help people with on a deeper level. I do speak to the fact that I can help people from any range of the spectrum. If you slept wrong and you've got a kink in your neck or you worked out at the gym and you pulled a muscle, I can help you. And I can also help you if you've lost someone in your life and you're grieving and you're really struggling. I can also help you if your anxiety is just so
Mm.
much and you don't want to go on medication and you're trying to manage in your life. So I do speak to that fact, Dave, that I can help people on very superficial levels for their body. And then on very deep soul levels, I've helped
Mm.
people with addiction, with again, trauma, sexual trauma, physical abuse, all kinds of different things. And for that, I'm very always humbled and grateful to be able to hold that space for someone in that very personal and very vulnerable space. And that I think speaks to that people trust me and I'm there
Mhm.
with love and compassion. There's zero judgment in any of my sessions. We leave that at the door and people know that they're safe, and that's important.
Yeah, I think creating a safe environment where individuals feel heard, they feel
Yes.
seen, but also they can collaborate on what safety looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you provide all of that through just your presence, through your personality, and
Thank you.
obviously through the services that you provide, which are varied and can address a variety of different challenges that people have. Um,
Yes.
you mentioned intuitive coaching. Is that similar to spiritual life coaching that you do, or is that different?
Well, I went through a spiritual life coaching program, and with coaching in general, there's so many different kinds of coaching, life coaching, business coaching, relationship coaching. There's not a whole lot of, regulation on it. So I did go through a spiritual coaching course, but that's where I felt like, okay, well, this is more intuitive to me, and I want to help people kind of tap into their own intuition to help them in their journey. So that's kind of how it it evolved. So I typically we'll do like a guided meditation to have people, connect to themselves and then speak because, someone can come in with a problem and just anywhere that they're stuck in their life and they could give me 1,000 different details. I don't need the details. I speak to the energy of the situation. Okay. So what is the energy of it? You're feeling stuck. You're feeling stuck in your job and you don't know what to do. That's the bottom line. That's how we're going to approach it. It weeds out a lot of the details and it's getting
Mhm.
to the core of what you're looking to try to move forward past.
Yeah, it makes sense because sometimes we can get stuck on details, and especially if we're if
Absolutely.
if we're in our heads a lot, details are our worst enemy because we
They
keep ruminating over the details and
yes.
details, and that
Yes.
prevents us from looking beyond that. Um,
Yes.
you
A-
know, so yeah.
Absolutely. And I also think that when you're stuck in details, your focus is here, right? In this very small space. When you focus in things from a spiritual aspect, you're zooming out. You're zooming out to try to see the bigger picture of what does this mean in my life? What am I meant to learn from this situation in my life? And that's kind of where I'm trying to bring people to the bigger picture. And a lot of times, I can look at that very easily now at this point in my life that in anything that happens in anyone's life, client, a family member, a friend, I immediately, that's where my mind and heart goes to, is like, you're meant to learn something from this. So now try to figure out and delve into what you're meant to learn. The issue there is that a lot of times people, they don't want to hear that at the beginning. If they're struggling with something, it's almost like they have to have their process of, and everyone's allowed to have their pity party type of thing,
Mhm.
but it might be too soon to hear that message. So I'm
Yeah.
very aware of that. I'm very sensitive to that. Of, okay, they're not ready to hear what I want to try to share with them about that bigger picture, and that this is bigger in your life. So I do meet people where they are and just try to help them along.
Yeah, and that's the only way to be is we meet people where they're at, and we work from there and see what they're
Yes.
motivated to do, what they're not motivated to do, and we focus
Yes.
on what they can do.
And I look at it that I hold that space, that safe space, but that person, that individual person is the one that has to do the work. I can't do the work for them. I can
No.
guide them. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you can only fulfill up to 50% of your end of the bargain in a relationship, not more than that. And I think
Yes.
when we're functioning at our best is when we're at less than 50% and we're just
Right.
facilitating the process.
That's a good way to put it.
Now, I'm going to ask you, I've asked this question lately, at least I asked it to another podcast guest. So I'm going to ask you this one. It's again, it's going to sound like this is off the beaten path,
That's okay.
but I'm going to ask you, give me your idea of an absolute perfect day.
Perfect day
Hmm.
for me? You
For
mean
you,
personally?
personally for you.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that question. That's a great one. That's a great one to pose to anyone, really. My perfect day. Oh my goodness. It would be, well, similar to what I do every, my day starts with prayer, and in the afternoon there's meditation. So that's part of my routine. So that's got to be it. My perfect day would be at the beach, at the ocean. The ocean is where I feel most grounded and at peace and at ease. And I've always loved the sea. Never understood why, but that is where I'm happiest. So my perfect day would be at the beach, just literally sitting there, maybe a nice glass of wine in my hand, and just watching the waves, listening to the ocean, smelling all the smells. I would want to have my children with me, my three boys. They are the biggest purpose in my life for everything that I do. And it's funny because they love the beach as well, and we go often. And when they do, I actually just love sitting there in the beach chair, again, maybe with a cocktail or a glass of wine. And I just love watching them like play. They're teenagers now, but they still play. And whether they're playing football in the water, or surfing a little bit on the boogie boards, like, it brings me such joy just to watch them after leaving the ocean, have a beautiful meal. Italian food is a big part of
Mhm.
our world, and a nice meal is, perfect. That would be my perfect day, honestly.
I think yeah, that is a perfect day. And the thing that I noticed about it, there wasn't anything in there about coaching. There wasn't anything in there about paying the bills. It was just
Mm-mm.
family, relationships, being out in nature in the beach. And I know you like water because the pictures you sent me have been you
Yes.
that I've seen have been you on the beach.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
I think that's great. And I think that to me would be a great perfect day.
That's a fantastic question. I'm gonna be visualizing that. Sleeping in also, I would sleep in because I love to sleep. I need a lot of sleep and rest. But yes, it's a great visualization. And the water, it's funny because I'm an earth sign, so I do connect with nature in general. Trees and the ocean are two of mine specifics, but water plays a big part in my world and in my work even.
Mhm. And water is the conduit for spirit, and water is just so much healing energy. We're 80% water anyway, so
Exactly.
it's a perfect fit.
Exactly. And I'll share with you something that not a lot of people even realize when they come to my studio. When you lay on the massage table and you look through the little face cradle, I have a little bowl with water, and there's salt in it as well. And then a flower, beautiful flower. So most people think it's just that's what it's there for. It's decoration, but really the water with the special salt is energetic. And I clear that water after sessions, and it's basically the water
Mhm.
absorbs people's energy, and then I dump it and refill it. So water, I try to incorporate water into my practice in a lot of different ways that I think are very subtle, so people don't even notice, but I do, and I know.
Yeah, that sounds great. And
Yes.
Deanna, you've left us with so much good stuff today, but I'm going to ask you one more question. Dig into
Okay.
that reservoir of wisdom of yours
Hmm.
and give our audience one ultimate takeaway that you would like to leave them with today.
Oh, I think the overall the takeaway I would love people to take away with them is that it's important to take care of your body physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I use this analogy a lot. If you have four legs on a chair or a stool, those are the four components that make us up. And we have to nurture and take care of each of those components of our body. We can take care of physical and say, oh, yeah, I'm eating right and I'm exercising. That's wonderful. But what about what are you doing for your spiritual health, your mental health, your emotional health? So the biggest takeaway is to really nurture all four of those things. And the last thing I would say is that to anyone in this audience, just that you are enough. You deserve to be happy, to have a healthy life, and to be at peace. And just know that you are enough for exactly just being you. You don't need to earn it. It's just by being you.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Deanna.
Yes.
My last question. People want to find out more about you, find out about Healing Hands by Deanna, contract for your services. What's the best way for them to do that?
Yes. The best way to reach me, contact me, get in touch is through my website, which is www.healinghandsbydeanna.com. All of my services are listed there. If you are local to Charlotte, North Carolina, of course, I can help with massage. You do have to be physically present there, but Reiki services and coaching services, I can do virtual, which I do often. So even wherever you live, if you're in New York or in any other state, I can help you there as well.
That sounds good. I understand you would like to offer a promotional item to my audience.
Yes.
You want to just expound
Yes.
on that a little?
So, anyone who's listening today in Dave's audience, I'd like to offer a 10% off your first session. Again, whether massage, Reiki, coaching, and the coupon code. So, you would go to my website, select what the service that you're looking for, go to the checkout, and to get the discount, you would put in the coupon code DAVE, DAVE, 1010, the percentage sign, and off, OFF.
And I will make sure your contact information, the promotional offer gets in the episode notes before we go live. So with that, Deanna, thank you so much for just a wonderful conversation. I truly enjoyed it, and I hope we can have future conversations.
Thank you so much, Dave. It was a wonderful conversation and it was wonderful to connect. And if my message or my story can help one person out there in the audience, then that makes me happy. So thank you for the opportunity.
You're quite welcome. And with that, that's a wrap on another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, wishing you peace.